Good morning and welcome to Tech Tuesday. Today we will be exploring the different types of assessment and ways to give descriptive feedback using some Office 365 tools. So we'll just get everyone a second here to get logged in and we'll get started. Again, just a friendly reminder that the tech team is here to chat with you every Tuesday. You can click on the shared document link or use the hashtag DPChats on Twitter or Yammer. So feel free to ask us questions or give us feedback today or any Tuesday.
Chat on Twitter and on Yammer. Oops. As we explore these types of assessment and descriptive feedback options, we also like to highlight the Catholic graduate expectations, two which kind of resonated with me, were the idea of creating those reflective, creative and holistic thinkers, and also the idea of those self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners. So as we give students different opportunities for assessment and give them that descriptive feedback and give them the opportunity to apply that descriptive feedback, we are promoting these students to become more responsible and reflective. So I'm just going to take you now into the first option that we're going to explore in Office 365. And just a reminder, if you're at school in the internet browser, you're going to type DP Cloud. And at home here, you will type dpcloud.dpcdsb.org. And as soon as you do that, you'll come to a login screen where you will use your same username and password as you do at school. And then you will land on this landing page here. So the first thing we'll take you into today is the word online and some of the options and features in there that you can use. So as an example, in one of the word onlines, what I've done is I have created a way to document those observations from my guided reading experiences. So normally what I do for each week is I set up a chart like this, and usually I just copy and paste that chart into each week. And all I do is I copy right out of the language document the expectation that we're working on. And I also include a prompt that went with that expectation that I was using with the students. So in this example specifically, we were looking at text elements and how they apply setting to understand the text. So you can see here, what I do is I number my students off, student 1, student 2, student 3. And those students know those numbers and we use them all year long. And it makes it easier while we're trying to document. And I'm able to just copy and paste this table over when it's blank. And then you can see as the students come through the guided reading sessions, and in this particular case, I haven't been to each group yet, so not every student has an observation. So a quick glance, I can see who I need to meet with next. But because I've inserted this as a chart, and when we open it up here, all I do is come up to Insert and Table, and then draw that table out. Because I've entered it as a table, these boxes will continue to expand. So if I come back perhaps on a second date with this student, let's say, what I can do is I can add another comment, and I can actually keep going each time I meet with that particular student around this expectation. This helps me to then analyze these comments or observations and allows me to kind of look at the needs of that student and decide if I'm going to regroup the students for the next time or what that might look like. So just a quick way for me to be able to document those individual reading or guided reading sessions for that week. So this is just a way to record observations in that type of assessment, and simply for my use as a teacher to document that and make reference to and analyze at a later point. I also want to show you what that might look like. I've set up another one in math here. And in this particular case, I've created a folder for this measurement unit we're working on. And I actually created a document for each student. And I shared it with each student. And I did that by coming up here to the right and clicking on Share. And once that generates that, what I can do is just type in the name of that student, let's say, and click on their name. I'm going to click edit because I'm actually going to use this and ask the students to give some input in here. So you can choose to have it editable or just view only, and then click share. Once I do that, that's going to be shared into the students' OneDrive. And now they can actually come in and see that. So throughout this unit, as I give the students some descriptive feedback, I actually come right in here and I write it in here with the date, the task, and the feedback that I've given the student. And what I like to do is, once I've given the students some feedback, is I actually tell them to come in and read the feedback. And once they've read the feedback, I've instructed them just to kind of highlight that. So I've shown them how to kind of do that. And the students come up and change the color of the text or highlight it. That way I know that they have read that feedback. You're also going to notice here to the right that there is some comment bubbles. So I can actually engage in a side comment or conversations with the students. And I do that simply by clicking beside any text, coming up to insert, and hitting comment where it says comment. And here I can leave some comments for the students. And as I do that, you'll notice that little icon comes up here. So the student can actually click on that and see some of the side conversation I might have going with them. And they can actually reply to me here. And we can have a dialogue going. What's great about that is after the students read my feedback, they have an opportunity to leave a comment if they don't understand something specific. Or once they go and apply that feedback, they can come in and give me a comment or ask me a question here. And we can kind of have that side dialogue going on about their descriptive feedback, which is great. The nice thing also about having it in here is that I can actually conference with the student and we can review perhaps the feedback that was given to them before and then look to see how they've applied that to the next piece. So it's a great working document. Once it's set up so that you have a page for each student, you can go ahead and keep adding into here as different units come up, or you could create new pages for each student, depending how you want to set that up. But a great way for the students to monitor their own learning and for the teacher as well to kind of monitor and analyze and conference with the student. Also great if I'm meeting with parents, I'm able to pull up that student's individual feedback for the entire unit and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, I want to show you how I handle when students perhaps hand something in a digital form. So in this particular case, the students were to hand in paragraphs on descriptive feedback. And again, to the right, you're going to notice that there's those comment bubbles. So as the student clicks on them, you'll notice to the right, it actually changes the comment where it's highlighted. So I can actually go in and leave specific comments in the different paragraphs for the student of things that I might want them to address or change. And in this case, because we were looking at this through an editing lens, I was giving them a lot of feedback about the specific editing and grammar and spelling of things. But what I also like to do after I've done that is, I'm just going to open this up here so you can see what that looks like, is down at the bottom at the end, I always like to give them some feedback and next steps. And I changed the color of that to make that stand out for the students. But they're able to see right in their document now specific feedback that they need to correct, and then some kind of overall feedback for the actual piece, the task, and what the next steps will be. And I like to document that for the student, but I also then like to document that for myself, to keep an ongoing kind of dialogue of that. And kind of what I've done is I've set up in Excel an Excel survey with the questions. And how I've done that is, if we just come into edit survey here for a moment. If you've never used Excel survey before, you're going to notice that we have an entire tutorial in the YouTube channel for this. So if you'd like some slower specific examples of how to set up a survey in there, you can go and rewatch that. But once I create a survey, you'll notice that there's questions here. And if you come in here, you can create a new survey or you can edit your survey. And all I've done is I've set up a couple of questions as, again, just copying in the expectation, and then a generic form that I use for all the students. So I just put the date, and again, I've numbered the students off, student 1, 2, 3, so that I can select that, the name of the assignment, the type of the assessment. So I've labeled that for myself as for and of, so I know where we were during the assessment cycle. And then just 2 blank text box, one for the feedback and one for the next steps. So as I'm marking, what I usually do is I will set that window up just by pulling on that tab and shrinking it down. And I just resize the window. And then as I'm kind of giving the student feedback, I have both windows open side by side like this. So as I go ahead and I type in the feedback for this particular student, all I have to do then is copy it over here under feedback, and I go ahead and copy in their next steps. So again, it takes 1 extra second. I'm typing it here anyway, and then I can simply go ahead and click and choose the type of assessment. If I knew that this was going to be an assessment of piece, I might even add in an option of a question to assign a level to this, just for my own knowledge as to where they kind of were sitting with that. So I go ahead and just hit submit, and then I refresh my screen so it's ready for the next student. And I go ahead and I open up the next student's work, and again give them their feedback there, specifically for that part, and then copy over their feedback and next steps. And what I really like about that is not only does the student now have quick access to that feedback and next steps, but I also have a really clear way to document that all together. And I'm just going to come in now. Once you fill out that survey, you'll notice, and I've filled it out a few times here, that it's going to come into an Excel sheet here. So the great thing about that is now I can kind of organize that. So you'll notice that the questions that I entered are along the top here. So I come over to the student's name and I click on that down box. I can kind of resort that. And if I resort it, you'll notice that every time I put a comment in for student 1, it's going to group them all together, and then all the 2s, and then etc. going through your students. So as I'm going through the week, if I'm documenting a few different samples of work, I'll be able to kind of look at them and again compare to see if the students are applying that descriptive feedback. Another great way when you're in here, when you click on that little drop down box, you'll notice that there's an option here for filter. And when I click filter, I can unselect them and choose to select just one student. And once I apply that, you'll notice that, oops, I'm just going to make sure I click that properly. Student 1, there we go. And once I do that, I can actually block out the other students. So if I wanted to just look at a specific student, or specifically if I knew I was going to be meeting with a parent, I might go ahead and change that filter just so I can see that one student's descriptive feedback around that expectation. And again, I can come back in and change that so it applies to all of them. And now I can see all the students' work again. So a great way to kind of quickly record those observations is just by moving and copying and pasting it into that Excel format. But again, a great way for the students to dialogue back and forth through those comments with me and to have that set up. Now, depending how you share this, again, I would have had that student share that specifically with me, but I also, depending, could have the student share that with peers first. If I wanted to give the students an opportunity to give some peer feedback. And again, that would have been after kind of doing that as a shared experience and working through some accountable talk pieces. Once students were kind of ready to handle that, then I would show them how to go ahead and insert comments for each other and have that dialogue going. So depending where you are in that editing process, they might share it with their peers first and then go ahead and share it with me when they're ready for my feedback as well. Along with the measurement one that I highlighted with you to document, you can do the same thing again with the Excel piece here. Oops. And again, I've done the same thing with this survey, and I'm just going to go in and show you that survey. Oh, it doesn't like that. It just has to refresh. There we go. And again, I did the same thing as I did with that writing example, is I've gone ahead and pasted the expectation up here. And again, this time, I was using this as an observation tool with the students. So I created this form, Excel form, and I've put in the learning goal. And again, this at this point was an assessment of peace. So the students had multiple experiences with this, and we'd already developed some very clear success criteria. So all I did was put that in the form. And now as the students are engaged in different activities, whether it's an experience of a 3-part math lesson or a different hands-on lesson, I can now either on a tablet or my phone or device walk around with just this form open. And again, I can put in the student's name, date, and all I did was put in the parts of the success criteria, and I made the questions an option to give them a level. So I can choose level 1, 2, 3, or 4 and put some observations there. And once I do that, you can see it's coming in here into my Excel sheet. And again, if I'm thinking about assessment, a really great way for me to kind of analyze this assessment with the students. So each question's at the top, and I can kind of scan down and look at the levels. And again, I can go ahead and sort those if I want by level so that they're all kind of in order. So for this specific piece of success criteria, I can see which students perhaps are coming out level 1s and 2s. And I might need to decide to do a little guided lesson with them or regroup them for another experience. And I could go ahead and do that for each question to kind of see where the needs of the students were. And again, I could go ahead and filter according to name if I just wanted to look at one specific student. If I was entering in this chart more than once, I would see more than one observation for that student, or if I wanted to share that with particular parents or things like that. And again, I do that just by clicking that filter, and then I can bring the whole class up again. So depending if I'm analyzing the entire class for the purpose of guiding my instruction for the next lesson, or if it's for the purpose of identifying and regrouping students according to a specific part of that success criteria to plan a new experience or guided experience for them. So a great way you can kind of use the Excel forms to document that. And again, if you're new to Excel, you're just coming up to Excel survey here and creating that. If I come back out, oops. Into Excel, again, if I'm starting a blank survey like that, I'm just coming up to survey where it says new survey, and then it's going to allow me to start building my questions. And again, for each question, you can choose the type of response you want, whether it's text, paragraph, date, number, yes or no, or multiple choice. And you can just keep adding as many questions as you like there. Again, if you're looking for some step-by-step instructions on the different ways to build that, you can go to our YouTube channel, DPCDSB Chats on YouTube, and you'll find another video there that kind of goes through that Excel piece just a little bit slower. I'm just going to come back out here and join you. So we kind of explored today some of the ways you could use this in writing to give some descriptive feedback. We also looked at an example in math. And I just want to share with you really quickly one last piece, and that was what it could look like in inquiry. So again, just like in Word, in PowerPoint, you can use that insert text feature. So you're going to notice here, I've taken right out of the social studies document and highlighted here the idea that we use this assessment to inform instruction, guide next steps, and to help students monitor their progress towards achieving their learning goals. So in this particular case, we were doing some knowledge sharing after a research experience in one of our inquiries. So each of the groups were assigned a particular slide. I shared that with the whole class, and they were able to come in and kind of document some of their learning that we were able to share with each other. And again, you'll notice that that icon is here. So again, just to show you that you can come up and add in specific comments here. So in this particular case, each group was assigned a slide, and they were sharing some facts from their research and a question they still had. And what the other groups then were doing were going in and leaving a comment for the other groups about their research and what they've learned from each other. So again, a great way to use that insert comment and have students dialogue back and forth and give some peer feedback as well. So again, today we were just exploring how to use some of the features in Office 365, specifically how to give some descriptive feedback. And we'll leave you with the idea that effective feedback or descriptive feedback occurs ongoing during that learning time while there's still time to act on it. So by providing that interactive digital platform, we provide the opportunity for that dialogue for students to give them that feedback and specifically to organize that feedback so they can go back and make reference to it.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today on this Tuesday. Hopefully you picked up a few ideas how you might be able to use some of the Office 365 tools for assessment and descriptive feedback. And if you have a moment, there is an exit ticket on that initial login screen. And we would love any feedback you have to help us direct our next sessions. Have a great Tuesday.